NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. How are you today? Good health? Secure? Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking and subscribing, growing the Sangha. NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. We are continuing with Nichiren On Karma, a book that, or an assemblage in the form of a book that I put together of a few gosho that I think makes clear Nichiren's position on one of the most popular questions in Buddhism: what the heck is karma? One of the most misunderstood. Oh my goodness. Every time I watch a TV show or a movie or read a book or read an article in Tricycle, a Buddhist publication, the amount of times that karma is misrepresented or misunderstood boggles my mind. So, about time I put together a collection together to be able to talk specifically on this topic. I do have other videos on karma that I've posted from time to time. I have documents on threefoldlotus.com, free documents you can download. There's, I think, a button on karma or how karma, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know why I didn't think of it. I've been doing this over 40 years, and I've been doing these videos and posting to the website since 1995, back when dinosaurs roamed. It never occurred to me to just explore these letters from Nichiren and interlocute with them, if you will. It's not really interlocution, but you know what I mean. To explore fully this idea of karma, especially directly relating to our practice, right? I don't know why it took so long. Anyway, for the moment, it makes complete sense to me, so let's continue, shall we? The heritage of the ultimate law of life. Or karma. See, this is the big problem in Buddhism, I feel. Is that there's so much to investigate, learn, read, right? Every author, every academic, every researcher, and not necessarily Buddhists, but people who are curious about Buddhism, write all of these documents, these books, these opinion pieces on, or translations of ancient texts, and they bring to the party their, especially the English translations, well, French or Spanish, the European translations, they bring to bear their cultural stigmata, their cultural, religious, cultural, societal words, and they imprint what isn't there in Buddhism to make it palatable for their biases, their minds, thinking that this will make this more accessible to others of their kind, right? The problem is that the others of their kind, like you and I, like me, you and me, when will I get that right? Right? We read their bias, we hear it with our bias, and we totally miss what Shakyamuni was actually saying, what Nichiren was actually saying. Drives me nuts. The heritage of the ultimate law of life. What is the ultimate law of life, folks? Yeah, NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. What is NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo about? All of this is about observing clearly, in other words, clarity, free of biases, bingo, what is actually happening moment to moment to moment. In your body, in your neighborhood, in your universe, in your friends, in your lovers, in your parents, in your brothers and sisters, in your nose, in your food, in your rocks and trees. Your mind is this amazing facility that emerges from this super complex apparatus to observe this. To observe this without all of the cultural, societal, accepted bullshit that we put on top of it. Just see it. That's what happens. That's what's happening. Free of opinion, free of judgment. That's what's happening. That's what Buddha is. And what are we observing? This goes back to the first time Shakyamuni opened his mouth after he attained enlightenment. What is actually happening is formations. We are observing quiescent energy being agitated, momentum is happening. Momentum is happening always. But whether that momentum turns into these words, they're difficult to work with because all of our language and our words are based on samsara, based on things. So how do we talk about prior to thing? How do we call, what words do we make, invent, to identify, because that's what we do in samsara, the preconditioned, right? Like that word, preconditioned. It's still a physical reference. But before something is, it becomes. How does the becoming work? So let's talk about becoming. All the way down to the smallest quark, right? Smaller than an electron, smaller than a photon. How does that come about? Can't even, my mouth isn't working good today. I'll try to make it work. The coming aboutness, suchness of all phenomena. That energy becoming is the source of all things. I mean, how could you argue that? Even in words, that's like, yeah, right? Before there is becoming an is. What is that? That we know it's energy, but it's forming. It's not formed yet, it's forming. What do we call that? Oh, we do have a word for that. Silly me. It's karma. And here's why. Please understand, a lot of people, Buddhists, will say, no, karma is something, it's a cause. Cause effect. That should be one word, right? Keffect. But no. No. Because that's thinking from thingness again. Yes, you and I are keffect makers. Absolutely. No argument there. But our keffects are influences on what's already there. Just like Buddha-ness is already there. We're talking about the same thing. Buddha-ness is awareness of it, and what it is karma. See all these words? They separate us from the central idea here. That when energy is quiescent, there's no karma. Therefore, your awareness is of nothing. Only, let me correct that. The nothing in Buddhism, and more in science, by the way, anyway, no sidetracks. It's potential. That describes perfectly, I think, that state of, dare I call it, unrest. We say the energy is quiescent, but what I mean when I say energy quiescent is simply a state of unrest. There's no formation happening yet. There's this energy that is potential. It's almost like a tension. It's just unrest. It's not quite the level of a tension. When there's tension, there's a tendency and condition there, right? So previous to that, there's it's quiescent, but it's not quiet. It's not nothing. It's potential. And all it takes is just some perturbation. If you're into string theory and you think of huge membranes or brains, as they call them, that maybe connect, touch. I mean, you're talking about hugeness on a level that you can't fathom. A mere touch is dramatic. From that can come everything. Just a moment there's a perturbation, that is the beginning of a formation. Because a formation has within it constructs of tendencies and conditions. They manifest in an instant and they accumulate because they're not in nothing. They are in potential. So the surrounding potential is also affected. And boom, like the Big Bang, like the Great Expansion, whatever you want to call it, it happens in an instant, right? And then it just compiles and compiles. Like, look up a term from the 70s, the China syndrome. You'll begin to understand how quickly these myriad, unknowable number of manifestations occur instantly. This is also the nature of cause-effect. It's in an instant. This is how all phenomena exist, moment to moment to moment to moment. 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. Buddhism repeats this in so many ways with so many words. Once you start to see this pattern, karma becomes obvious. Another way to say it is the heritage of the ultimate law of life. Why heritage? That heritage happens in an instant because it had to have a primal initiation. But that primal initiation happens over and over and over. It's happening right now, moment to moment to moment. Every moment subsequent to that moment has the heritage of the moments before it. It isn't the moments before it. It has the heritage, the footprint, the influence of the moment before it. There is where we come in. So that with our invoking our Buddha-ness, our clarity, we can make better influences, better, quote unquote, life-affirming, awakened influences to keep this moment-to-moment occurrence of life at its most broad, its most benefit, its most potential, its most life-affirming. We want to be here. We want to continue becoming because it's exciting, because it's amazing, because it's love. And when the potential isn't so pretty, it's kind of, it hurts, it's painful, whatever. We don't want to support that potential. We want to modify that. We want to redirect it. We want everything to be joy and love and amazing. But there's always going to be pain. That's part of potential. The question is, there doesn't have to be suffering with the pain. Right? Isn't that what enlightenment and Buddhism is all about? Siddhartha never set out to eliminate sickness, old age, and death. He set out to eliminate the suffering, the attached, piled on emotions and suffering about those negative conditions. Negative why? They're only negative to us. They're not negative to potential. Potential is just potential. It doesn't know good, bad, or middle. Like karma. It doesn't know good, bad, or middle. Karma is just the formation. How you influence the formation, well, that's everything. Not to everything. To us, it's everything. This is the key. Understanding karma goes a long ways to inform how we understand and how we perform our practice. Does not? Does it not? Sometimes the words don't fully come out of my mouth. I don't know if that's, well, who knows? I'm getting old, I guess. So finally, after all that blah, 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 let's read this thing, yeah? I've just carefully read your letter. And when Nichiren carefully reads your letter, to reply, the ultimate law of life and death is transmitted from the Buddha to all living beings. It is NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. So the ultimate law of life, karma, as experienced by Shakyamuni Buddha and taught to us, our Buddha clarity, our Buddha nature, the way we enliven it, the very way we experience with clarity karma is through our invocation of Buddha, which is NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, karma. Karma doesn't hold up signs and posts and say, here I am. So how do we recognize karma in action? With Buddha. So what is that perception in samsara for our sentient mind? It's NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, the law. Why is it a law? Because it's incontrovertible. The 5 characters of NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo were transferred from Shakyamuni and many treasures, the 2 Buddhas inside the treasure tower, to Bodhisattva superior practices, carrying on a heritage unbroken since the infinite past. Do you hear everything he's saying in that sentence? Translation or otherwise. The 5 characters of NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo were transferred from Shakyamuni and many treasures, not a person, an emanation of Shakyamuni. The 2 Buddhas inside the treasure tower. The treasure tower, our experience, our sentient mind. Our sentient mind, with its portal to this Buddha-ness, is the treasure tower. What's another name for that? Gohonzon. What is Gohonzon? Our ultimate aim of practice. This open sentient mind. Gohonzon. It's all in the words if you know how to read them. to Bodhisattva superior practices, the story of the Lotus Sutra, carrying on a heritage unbroken since the infinite past, this engine of life, the karma, witnessed in the story of the Lotus Sutra by the leader of the Bodhisattvas of the earth, you and me. And Nichiren, identifying, personifying the role described in the Lotus Sutra of Bodhisattva superior practices. Our mentor, our teacher, our guidance counselor. Then he says, Myo represents death. Well, does it represent death? No, it represents nothing. It represents potential. See, the moment we hear the word death as human beings, we think, put him in a box, bury him, or put him in an urn. That's how we think death. But the concept of death that's being translated here in Buddhism isn't about that. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. Every single moment is a birth and death. Moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. If it wasn't a birth and death, we wouldn't have moment to moment to moment. We'd just have one straight line of ah, and nothing would ever change, nothing would ever happen. And would you call that life? Maybe, but it wouldn't be any need to talk about it. It'd just be a flat line. Think about that. And so in this context, whole is life. Moving from moment to moment, from death or potential to instantiation, whole. So when you look at that scroll and you look at NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo and you focus on Myoho, that little candy cane that connects the two, that's not an accident. Nichiren is giving us a clue in his mandala. Myoho are the formation. They're the karma. From potential to instantiation. Myoho, Myoho. What does that karma, Myoho, look like in samsara? Renge. Oh. Kyo, this is what I'm teaching. This is what I heard. This is what we say. This is our invocation. Kyo. Namu, here I am in samsara, dedicating myself, invoking Mu, Myoho, from potential to instantiation, Renge, here it is happening, Kyo, I get it. Consistency from beginning to end. Does this make sense? It's so straightforward. It's so simple. It's mind-bogglingly simple because there's so much behind it. The entire universe, you could say. Right? Now listen. If you doubt what I'm telling you, listen to Nichiren as he continues from this. Myo represents death and whole life. Living beings that pass through the two phases of life and death, moment to moment to moment to moment, are the entities. We are the embodiment of the 10 worlds. 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. But he's breaking it down simpler into the 10 worlds, the 10 realms. Hell, hunger, animality, you know them. Or, another way to say the same thing, entities of NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. Back to karma. What are the realms? They are instantiations from potential. They're filters of experience manifesting through formations, right? And those forms are sentiently experienced as, this is our facility, as human beings, as samsaric sentient minds. And because that's what we're manifested from, how can we be any different than that which we're manifested from? Oh yeah, NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, karma. We are manifestations of karma. And so when we chant NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, we are opening our sentient samsaric experience to that very formation. We unite, we invoke the clarity of our mind, our Gohonzon in mind, to this active moment-to-moment formation. We belong in, we enter the stream, not like we ever left it, but we thought we did because we impose all these judgments and attachments and warehouse of identification, and we take ourselves away. And then when we chant, right back to the stream. NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo, Buddha-ness, suchness. Everything is happening. I am becoming. I'm no longer an is. I'm becoming, moment to the next, moment to the next. That awareness, should I awaken it and keep it awake, changes my perspective, my experience. In every future moment, I experience life. All in the first paragraph. Now, to bolster what he just said, he's going to reference other scholars. Tendai says that one should understand that living beings and their environments, we see them as separate, but they're not. And the causes and effects at work within them are all the law of Renge. The realization that the happening, the becoming of Myoho, Myoho, Myoho. Oh, I see it, I see it. Here, quote, living beings and their environments, end quote, means the phenomena of life and death, the moment-to-moment happening, formations. You see how the word death is very confusing there? Thus it is clear that where life and death exist, cause and effect, or the law of the lotus is at work. Again, karma, the witnessing of karma. That's the whole objective here, right? How do we witness in our samsaric instantiation? How do we witness karma? How do we witness the formations? How do we get that renge of seeing, of witnessing? Gohonzon, mind, right? We should say in the translations, Gohonzon mind, not Buddha mind. Gohonzon mind is what allows the perception, the experience of Buddha, of all suchness, of our own suchness, becoming, being, verb, life. Nouns aren't life. They're defined, opinions, identified, gone. You follow? The great teacher Dengyo, he's going to go to another scholar. The great teacher Dengyo states, quote, the two phases of life and death are the wonderful workings of one mind. Man, come on. How obvious is this? Right? If you're stuck on the idea of you're born from a womb and you die in the grave, then how can life and death, repeating moment to moment to moment, be of one mind? Because the perception, the experience of this life-death is Buddha. It's the Gohonzon mind. It never changes because it's a witness, an observer of this process. The karma, the engine of life. What does he say next? The two ways of existence and non-existence are the true functions of an inherently enlightened mind. Is not is. Potential instantiation. Existence and non-existence. Non-existence is what? It's not nothing. It's potential. Myoho, myoho, myoho. Existence, ho. Non-existence, myo. No phenomena, either the skies and space or earth, yin or yang, the sun or the moon, the 5 planets, or any of the worlds from hell to Buddhahood, right, the 10 worlds, are free from the 2 phases of life and death. Moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. Everything has potential and then instantiation. Myoho, 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 the engine of life. Life and death are simply the 2 functions of NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. In his great concentration and insight, Tendai says, quote, arising is the arising of the essential nature of the law, and extinction is the extinction of that nature, not of the law. A moment arises, and then immediately begins to decay, and then dissolves. Extinction. Moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. This is an incredible Gosho. Shakyamuni and many treasures, the 2 Buddhas, are also the 2 phases of life and death. Shakyamuni, tangible, life, instantiation. Many treasures, death? Well, death / potential. Potential. That's why they're both on the scroll. Nichiren put them both on the scroll as they're identified in the Treasure Tower chapter of the Lotus Sutra because myoho. Because the potential for our enlightenment simply requires our invocation from Namu to Kyo. Our realization, NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. Shakyamuni Buddha, who attained enlightenment countless kalpas ago, the Lotus Sutra that leads all people to Buddhahood, we ordinary human beings are in no way different or separate from one another. Because we're all made of energy, the same energy. As we've discussed, as Joni Mitchell discussed in her song about going to that concert, Woodstock, right? We are stardust. We are golden. We're actually more fundamental than stardust. Because everything in the universe is made of the same stuff, which ultimately is made of energy, myoho. To chant NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo with this realization is to inherit the ultimate law of life and death. realization of myoho, realization of karma at work, in action. And to be realized that way allows us what? A singular opportunity. Not only to experience it, renge, but to support it, to move into it, to influence it, as well as being completely absorbed in it, which really we have no choice, but we do have a choice in mind to really know it, to be in it. It's one thing to watch an activity, it's another to participate in it. This is a matter of the utmost importance for Nichiren's disciples and lay supporters, and this is what it means to embrace the Lotus Sutra, to embrace NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. I could go on, but I think those first few paragraphs of this letter are so intensely right on the money. Anyone who reads that and still doesn't understand Buddhism, you just don't want to. Page-turning karma. Wow, incredible. So guess who Nichiren wrote this to? Because obviously, those few paragraphs, if you haven't been watching this channel for a while, if you haven't been read into a lot of the Gosho, or not familiar with Nichiren or Buddhism or Shakyamuni, if you're just fairly new to this, I don't care if you've been practicing for a year or two, you probably are very ignorant of a lot of these things, because most of the information out there, these groups, these sects, they don't want you to think very hard about this. They just want you to do what they want you to do. Be a good member. Send in your tithing, right? But if you've been, I dare say, if you've been going to threefoldlotus.com, if you've been watching any of these videos for a while now, if I haven't made it abundantly clear by now, those few paragraphs should resonate deeply with your understanding of why you're doing this. But there's a lot of assumed knowledge, and that's my point. If you're new to this channel, if this is the first time you're hearing of this, a lot of this is going to take a little time to digest. I understand. But also understand that Nichiren didn't just write this to some farmer who said, so what's this about? He wrote it to Sarin Bo. And if you've been, again, listening to any of these videos or the playlist on the Gosho and so forth, Sarin Bo Nichijo is a former Tendai priest or monk who, for reasons that are unclear, was also living in exile on Sado Island. And Nichiren, who converted this man from the Tendai sect, which by the time Nichiren came about, the Tendai sect had really fallen into a lot of erroneous views. But this Tendai priest, monk, whatever you want to call him, was no doubt quite familiar with the writings of the Lotus Sutra and all of the writings of Shakyamuni, right? He couldn't have been a monk within the Tendai priesthood or monkhood, whatever you want to call it, without having a lot of previous knowledge. So when Nichiren comes along and starts identifying a lot of the erroneous views and quoting Shakyamuni's sutras, Sarin Bo thought, oh, crap. Yeah, Nichiren, this guy Nichiren really gets it. He really understands. I've been misled by my quote-unquote teachers in the Tendai discipline. So he became a follower of Nichiren's. And now Nichiren, paragraph by paragraph, is wham, wham, wham. And this Tendai priest is going, I get it, I get it, I get it. Anew, my practice is forever changed. I really have had my eyes opened by Nichiren. So that's why this kind of Gosho I especially enjoy, because, yeah, there's no mucking about with stories and so forth. This is like, this is the doctrine. This is what Shakyamuni taught. This is how it works. I like that. Right? Not everyone who's studying Buddhism is quite ready. Until you have certain basic understandings, this might just come as a, what are you talking about? But that's why we're talking about it now, right? So, in that respect, thank you. Thank you for being so alert, so open, so much a part of this practice. If you have questions about any of that, I gotta know. You've got to say something in the comments or email me directly. Because if I'm not conveying this as clearly as Nichiren is trying to convey it to this educated monk, maybe I need to work harder. Maybe I need to find other examples. I don't want to do your work for you, but I want to help you do your own work to see how clearly this identifies these communications about karma, instantiation, formation, potential, moment to moment. Attain your Gohonzon mind, so that Buddha-ness, your experience of all things as suchnesses occurring, becomes innate, your modus operandi for daily living. Yes? NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. Thank you for participating. Thank you for supporting this Sangha, right? Like, subscribe, buy ebooks, buy print books, get yourself a proper mandala. Your efforts are invaluable for your own practice and for the Sangha. That's our bodhisattva effort, right? All of us. So thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for your participation. Those of you who are patrons, who support this effort and all of this resource, the website and all of it, by donations through Patreon or straight to PayPal, how could I have words? NaMuMyoHoRenGeKyo. Your donations go straight to Gohonzon. Right? This Sangha. So please understand, when I say take care of your health, I really, really mean it. Take it seriously. Your health is invaluable. And in our world of craziness today, that means be alert. Be mindful, be watchful, be kind. Right? Your kindnesses will reward you. That's the engine of life. All right. Really felt strongly about this one today. How could I not? Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.